This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the faucet.
We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, hi, my name is Peter.
Yeah, I want. Here's good.
Yeah.
Adam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on.
He likes it.
It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorce dad, single dad, divorce dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
That's right, it's showtime, and it's definitely going to be showtime tonight. I am excited as hell. Wednesday, coming at you. Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Beautiful spring day. I'm definitely digging the daylight savings time more and more because I don't tend to be an early riser. I mean, because I go to bed really late. I mean, I do whatever I have to do. But I like to start my day a little later if I can. And when I go out, I like to go out for walks. I told everybody knows, I do about like 4 or 5 miles, 5-6 days a week. And with the daylight savings time, I can go out around 6 o'clock and not be walking in the dark, killing myself, tripping on stuff. But loving the daylight savings time, loving the weather. I hope everybody is doing fan-friggin-tastic. We have... When I say amazing show tonight, I mean, we have a really great show tonight because I'm pretty excited about this. So I told you about it last week, but there's certain people in my life that I have not talked to in a long time. Now we know that we both still exist here on this earth, but we haven't spoken. Last week, spoke to LA studio musician Tim Pierce. This week, legendary keyboardist, musician, Steve Porcaro. And here's the thing. Again, everybody knows I've had a good bit of years surrounded by a lot of amazing musicians. But since all the change in my life, I have not spoken to a lot of these guys. And a lot of these guys are on the Christmas card list. And so every year we know we're still, I'm going to talk to them. We'll be talking about this in a minute. But the thing is, I have not spoken to tonight's guest, Steve Porcaro. You're going to want to go, if you got to go to the bathroom, get your drinks, get your popcorn, whatever you want, just hurry. But I haven't spoken to him in ages. And I decided I want to share our opening conversations. Now, we'll keep it semi-PG. Not that there's anything wrong with what we're going to talk about, but but I've not talked to him in ages. And so I decided that with a few of these guys, periodically, I'm going to go into my deep cuts list and bring these guys on if they're willing. And we're just going to catch up on life. Talk a little bit about the music background for your benefit, because I know a lot of you guys are music fans. Believe me, I've already been getting some of the emails. It's like, they're definitely not missing this show. Steve Porcaro fans. I'm a Steve Porcaro fan, I mean, I didn't know him before I knew him. If that makes any sense. But tonight, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to have him on, and I'm looking forward to this because it's just life. Everybody gets in their own circles and directions, and when mine went to hell, I completely had to step away from a lot of people that I used to spend a good bit of time around. And so tonight, we're going to catch up with Steve Porcaro. But first, couple of things. As always, I love you guys for tuning in. I do. But please go over to my YouTube channel, because I'm having to say this every week, and I will continue. Since they wiped me out, I'm having to rebuild it because I talked about things that they didn't want me talking about. I am putting myself on suspension, but I'm not going to stop. I just know how to deal with them now. But I've had to rebuild, and I need you guys to go hit the subscribe button over there. It's free. It'll notify you every time we have a show that's starting, or you can catch all the shows on demand over there. Even though I know a lot of you are on Facebooks and LinkedIn's and all the different 11 live platforms that we're on, I get it. But just go and help me out. Go and hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost a thing. And I just got to get the numbers up over there, because not only when they took me off, they're making it even harder for me to be seen. So you know that I'm there. And until I get the numbers up, they're not going to cut me any slack. So, but I'm not giving up on them. Screw it. I'm a hard person to just say, oh, I give up. Help me out. And also, I love you for watching the show, but for those of you who can't watch the show, you can get an earbud in your ear and you can take the Peter G Show on the road with you in your car while you're driving. Look, I'm even acting it out. See, it's a visual thing. And take the podcast. Just Google Peter G Show podcast. We're on like 25 different platforms, your Amazon Music, your Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the above, and then some. And just put an earbud in your ear when you're at work. You can listen to, we have almost 300 shows. And, we all know that work is boring. So I know I have a topic that'll appeal to you, whether we're talking about narcissists or extraterrestrials or grade A musicians, historic. I got something for you. And we just share stories. So I would appreciate it if you do that. And that will make, help me breathe a little better, because this is not easy business to do, people. Everybody wants to be somebody, but I'm just trying to bring things that are important to you, because this is entertainment with a purpose. What that purpose is, I'm not really sure yet, but we're working on it, okay? All right. Coming up in 2 minutes, as promised, musician, keyboardist Steve Porcaro is going to be on the show. But first, I need to and want to hear from my good friends over at Clean Star Products with their DX1 driver fuel additive that saves you money in fuel. And who doesn't want to save money? Be right back.
Hello, I'm Tyrone Thompson of CleanStarProducts.com. This is DX1 Driver in the news, and here's what our friends have to say.
So I'm here to recap on the DX1 I've used. I put it in oil and I put it in the gas. While I'm using it just for about 3 tanks. Cleaned everything out. I got every ounce of power back in my truck.
When Jared's truck was new, it had a lot of power. Then over time, it began to slow down. He got it all back with our DX1 driver program.
Something you got to see for yourself. It's a great product. It's affordable. And it blows all the other additives and esters out of the water.
DX1 driver is the finest oil in the world from a California environmental company. It goes into the fuel system and the oil. It's the only green grade product qualified for the carbon credits program, giving you better fuel mileage, lower emissions, and increased horsepower. So join the fuel savings revolution today. Go to CleanStarProducts.com/shop.
That's right. Clean Star Products. All I can tell you is, people, it works. These guys have put a lot of time and effort in, and it also passes all the California emissions things. And if it can pass California, it can pass anything. Let's face it, cars are expensive. Gas, don't get me started. You want to know more about Clean Star Products, just go over to www.cleanstarproducts. They'll talk to you. They'll answer any of your questions. This little bitty bottle right here. Pour it into a clean oil change. Last the whole oil change. And every time you fill up your tank, put one of these in your fuel, and bam, better gas mileage, cleans out everything, less friction, more lubricity. Yes, I made that word up. And it works. And the proof is in the pudding. So go out and try some. You'll be happy. And again, it makes sense to save money. Money is not growing on trees anymore. Tell them Peter G. Show sent you. That way, at least they know I'm doing something. What I'm doing, I really don't know, but I'm doing something. All right. Let's change gears. Let me get ready. First, let's take a sip. Smooth. I'm excited. I have Steve Porcaro sitting in the wings, and if he's ready to go, I'm going to bring him in. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, longtime old friend, have not spoken to him in a gazillion, well, at least a bunch of years. Right here on this show, kind enough to give me the time. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve-O!
Hey.
I don't know where. Oops. Whoa.
There I am.
Sorry, hit the wrong button. Butterfingers. I don't even know where to begin with you besides how you doing, because it's been that long. So how you doing?
Doing great. Really,
Yeah?
really good. Great to see you. It's a good time.
You're looking good, bro. You
too. You too.
In this, well, I got a lot of makeup on. It's-
Always helps. Definitely always helps.
in this day and age, the way things are going, I mean, I'm just glad that we're all still here.
Exactly.
Survivors. It is. And, shit happens, as you know. You've lived it, and we're all surrounded by it. But, a lot of things change in life, and we all go into different circles. And even though yearly you get the, hey, how you doing? Merry Christmas, happy holidays, we don't get to talk to each other. And I finally got off my ass and dropped you that little note this year and said, you know what? I want to do this, and I want to do this and let everybody hear how you're doing, what you're doing, and, what's going on. So what is going on with you?
Right now, I am I'm grooving. I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing, which is nothing but being home in my studio where I am right now, working on songs. That's I've reached a point where I suddenly found myself in a position where I get to do exactly what I want to do, which is nothing but work on my songs, play with my technology, and just work every day doing exactly what I want to be doing. I've always been very lucky enough to make a living with music. I've won the lottery like 7 times in life, and but here I am, able to do exactly what I want to do and not have to tour, not have to work in TV or do anything else. That those were all fantastic gigs, but I'm really a studio rat, and I get to be in my studio every day making the music I want to make, which is just writing songs and finishing them and collaborating with people. So
wow, you have no idea how many people lately of our circle, musicians and stuff like that, have told me the exact same thing. You're at a point in your life where now you're doing what you want to do, and basically on your time.
Yeah.
And I guess it's well deserved. I mean, Jesus, the hours and the up all nights and the 2 days in a row, and how many years of that,
Yep.
the Haagen-Dazs days.
Yeah, I definitely did that, and my family had to suffer through those years. I was always kind of having fun. I was always insisting on having fun, but and it was always under the guise of work. But
Right.
Sometimes my family and loved ones were the ones who suffered. So it feels great to be present and be around for everybody, and to you know what I mean? Just be present.
I get it. But, at that time, though, you're living in the moment, and that's just the way it felt, that you did what you did. You got it while you could. And we were younger, and not that we're slowing down, but, you just balls to the wall. You're doing all you can because you could, and we're going to touch base on, I don't, want to go all talking about all the music, because I really want to talk about the life, but we have to talk a little bit about how you started. Because I got to tell you, I'm kind of, even I didn't know some of these things until the later years. Number one, I didn't move here until 92 and 91, mid 91. And you were already, you started in the mid 70s, right out of high school, or during high school?
Yeah, my career. Yeah. Yes. It was 75. Exactly.
But
the mid-70s.
So I always knew, because once I got lucky enough, and I fell into, by about 93, I met JJ, John Jessel, and then he pulled me into this project that we were working with a Scandinavian artist with Paish, and I ended up getting into that whole scene. And Well, I only heard the stories about, because you started out so damn young doing major stuff. I mean, Boss Skaggs, and that's how Luke and all them. I mean, but you were a high school kid, weren't you?
Yeah, when I started with Gary Wright, I left high school a semester early. I just did my first semester at Grant High School, my senior year, and then I just wanted to be on the road. I got a couple auditions that I didn't get, were very heartbreaking, and then my third audition was for Gary Wright. He was putting together he had just finished his Dreamweaver album, and David Foster was one of the keyboard players on that album, and he had called David looking for young guys who would go on the road for real cheap, and David suggested me. Knew about me through my brother Jeff, and I went and auditioned and got the gig.
But this was, what were you, 17? Something like that?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Dude, that is like a 17-year-old's dream. I mean, that's what we all dreamt of. You know what I mean? Just getting, and you, but, and again, and I just had this talk, and everybody I know that has done fairly well here in LA started about 10 years sooner than when I got here. The mid 70s to the mid 80s were like this flourishing. If you had talent, people were looking to do stuff, and they got to do great things. And I didn't even know you did Gary Wright. I had no idea. Yeah.
It was a blast. It was a complete dream come true. And I was lucky. My brother Jeff, believe me, he was kind of leading the way. Jeff was the one in our family with the white hot talent, and he knew David Foster because when David Foster had just gotten to town, Jeff was aware of him, and we all became friends. And it was a dream come true for me to be on the road, playing in front of people, doing what my brothers were doing, living the dream.
That was a great circle and niche to be in, because that was a great start. Look, when you were doing that thing, I was still a kid in Florida. Mm-hmm. I'm a couple of years younger than you, but not much. And I mean, I remember sitting in like somebody's living room, because we had albums back then, getting stoned and reading the albums to Dreamweaver and that whole, in a dim lit living room, on a Friday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I knew it well.
Great days, but the thing was, you were the guy that was doing it, and at that time I didn't have a clue. I mean, I was playing in bands, but it was locally and regionally, and we're just with the dream, with the gleam in my eye. But just so we can set people up a little bit, because I went and scoured a little bit. I just want to play a clip of a little video that shows this strapping young lad doing with your start. So here, just check this out real quick. I'm only gonna play a couple of seconds of it just so people get a visual. Dude, long time ago, and friggin' awesome, when rock and roll and concerts and music was just thriving, and people wanted to see that stuff, and you were out there as a kid. That's friggin' amazing.
Yeah, no, it was a great time to come up, and Gary was very well connected with, he had this big time manager in D. Anthony, and they had this amazing agents where we got on these great tours and great bills at Days on the Green in Oakland, and just it was truly living the dream.
No, that album just was explosive. I mean, that album, I don't know what happened to Gary Wright or where he's at and how he's doing, but that was an amazing record that just
Gary's
killed.
Not doing well right now. He's struggling right now with some health issues, but we've stayed in touch over the years, and I was always indebted to him for giving me a start, giving me my start like that. And by the way, that was our live appearance on Midnight Special with the record dubbed in there somehow. That was a weird clip, and I was not on the record. Again, I was both with Gary and with Boz at the beginning. I just was in the touring band, and the Gary gig led right to the butted up right against while I was on the road with Gary, my brother Jeff, and David Page and David Hungate were in the studio doing Silk Degrees with Boz. And then when Boz toured on that, I jumped right from Gary to Boz for a little while.
But again, just primo stuff. And again, Boz was hot as shit. I was lucky enough. I met Boz back, it's been a while now, but over at Page's house, the newer house, not the old manor and all that. And he happened to be there while we were doing something. But I loved that. I still love the stuff he does. But you, again, jumping into, and again, I know you were good back then because as a kid, I know I was a good music drummer back when I was young, but I just played the same shit I played back then. Just I play it better now. You don't realize it, but you're just out there ready to swallow it all up. I just wanted to go back and tell you that I had no idea. I thought your start came from Boz Scaggs. I had no idea what the Dreamweaver until this past year when you told me we'd make yourself available to do the show. And I went digging a little bit and I just stumbled upon it and I go, holy crap. But
sure. Oh, and just for you to know, in high school when Jeff and Paige first, would come and see me with my high school bands, I wanted to just be a keyboard player. I always loved synthesizers, but I just wanted to be a keyboard player. But I knew as I was getting closer to graduation that I was never going to be able to compete with the Michael Omardians and David Pages and David Fosters out there in the studios. And I think it was a good idea for me to real early on. I kind of saw this niche of that a lot of those guys, as much as they all were they could all play synthesizers. They didn't really want to get into the nuts and bolts of them. And I did. I was the guy that had that little black box so you could interface this synthesizer with another one. And I just made myself real handy to be around. And, whereas the first couple auditions I had, they needed someone who could play jazz in one of them. And in one of the other gigs, I just wasn't old enough for them. But Gary needed a guy who could play Moog bass. And, it was the perfect gig for me. And the same with Boz, where that was when they first started having a second keyboard player. So I didn't need to worry about the meat and potatoes, keyboard gig. That was David Page and later on a good friend, Jay Winding. I was the synth guy, and that was always a fun, easy gig for me.
See, well, again, that leads you. I didn't know Jay was on that gig. I only met him when he was doing Madonna back when I met him or something like that.
Yeah, he did Boz with me after David.
Wow. Which leads me to the point again. I just want to do your history a little bit because people find this fascinating. Because again, longevity. You know how quickly people can be in and out. And you're just managed to hang, but you were, and I saw your stuff when you were taking it out of storage and all that, but you were kind of you turned into a gear nerd, when it came to, you were just fixated on we're talking to me, it reminds me of when I used to see it as a kid on Don Kirshner's rock concert, Frankenstein, Edgar Winter, with the keyboard stuff. And I got a little picture here we're going to throw up. This is you, in a wall of operator, cross wires, making the sounds electronically before there were preset buttons you can push. Correct?
Yep.
I mean, that's a wall, and you still have all that stuff, don't you?
Yes, it's actually all being rebuilt as we speak by that company, Polyfusion. They've very generously offered to rebuild it all to make it like new for me, Yes, that's the Smithsonian stuff. It needs to go in there. I mean, nobody messed around with stuff like that. That was documented that I knew of. You were the only one. Besides, again, Edgar Winter. I saw him doing something similar to that with Frankenstein back in the day. Well, there were plenty of people doing some of this stuff. It's a long story why I got into all that stuff. I really wasn't that into synthesis initially. I just wanted voices. I had gotten I used to use this little sequencer that was kind of it was a thing I used in the studio a lot. It just played one note, and my Mini Moog played one note. And all of a sudden I had this sequencer that played 8 notes at once. The only problem was you needed 8 mini Moogs, which no one had or could afford to have. And thanks to the generosity of David Page, that company Polyfusion approached us. And I thought, you know, there were other ways to do it, say with Oberheim, what they called Oberheim expander modules. But I thought with the Polyfusion stuff, I could have like 8 rack mounted mini Moogs. Is really all I was trying to do initially, was just have like voices.
Right.
But sure enough, when I had that stuff, I didn't want it to, I really wanted to know what I was doing with it. And I luckily had friends like Roger Lynn, who went on to create the drum machine, you know, the LM1 drum machine, and a Canadian friend that David Foster introduced me to, Ralph Dyke. And they answered all my stupid questions and really taught me about synthesis, and opened up that Pandora's box for me. And, you know, I really had fun with it.
I just, again, part of that whole time period of everything's just exploding, you know, the sounds, the gears growing, and you had, and that stuff was huge. And you used to take that stuff on the road with you?
Oh yeah. That did a couple world tours with Toto for sure.
Okay. So it goes
two of those things.
Wow. Yeah. And I remember seeing them in the past when you took them out of stores to blow the dust off of them back. This is like 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm going, holy crap. But because, you know, times have changed now. Most people now are doing everything from a laptop. And I mean, it's just, the business has changed.
Yep. Me included. Not a laptop. I mean, I do have a laptop that does that stuff, but most of my stuff is soft synths now.
Yeah. Okay. So you went, all right. The whole thing went from you're 17 years old, you took off into that, and then you landed, obviously everybody knows, you know, well documented, you were, you know, Toto, and Toto just exploded with, you know, Rosanna and all that kind of stuff. But by time I had gotten around the Toto camp, you had left. So I didn't really meet you until mid 90s, I guess, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, because you were just popping around. You weren't, you know, there was no hang really, and and that's what. And in fact, you probably don't remember this, but I remember, this is just another one of these goof stories. I remember one day I walked into Casa Vega, the cave, in the daytime, and I know you've had to gone in there in the daytime. When you walk in, it takes Casa Vega, for those who don't know, is a famous Mexican restaurant in the San Fernando Valley where we all kind of thrived around. But when you walked into that place in the daytime, it took about 10 minutes for your eyes to fixate because it's so dark in there, right? Yeah. So I walked in there one afternoon, and I ended up staying in there for a little while, and I had met this girl in there, and we're hanging out at the bar. And so it's about dinner time, so the dinner crowd starts coming in. I doubt you remember this, but I do, because I remember how, like, I walked out, and as I'm walking out the door, here comes you and Pam coming in for dinner, and I'm lit. And I'm, you know, I'm, like I said, thankful I survived these days and all that, but I know a lot of people can relate. I'm walking out the door, and I look up, and it's you guys, and I go, "Hey, how's it going?" And you just look at me, and both of you had eyeglasses on. And at that time, like, sometimes, you know, like Pam, I didn't see her with glasses on or things like that. And I go, "Hey, you guys got matching glasses." And you're just looking at me like, what the hell? You know? And I go, "Gotta go." And I just went out the door, leaving you. And after I left, I go, they must have thought, like, what the hell is wrong with him? But that's my, you know,
that's a Casa Vega story.
Well, yeah, because with you, like I said, been there, done that. Your life started cleaning up, straightening up, because, you know, we all get to those peaks and highs, and then you go, you know what? I like life. I think it's time that I'm grateful for all I have, and I want to see it to its fullest. And at that point, I think, you know, everything was like, you know, you already had that grip on things, going, you know what? Let's just keep focused a little more. I don't know. I think I'm correct in that, you know, because,
sure. Do we want to talk about that? Is that
no, but I'm just saying that
I know. No, you have to be honest. I'm not that familiar with the Peter G show, to be honest with you, Peter.
Yeah.
I know
I don't.
it's about you being a divorced dad is part of it, and the changes we've all gone through. I know we're not here to talk about synthesizers.
Right, we're getting there. I just wanted, for the sake of my audience, I just wanted to get, because this is how it's all going.
Definitely. I think it was in it was actually it was like 82, 83 for me when everything was peaking, you know, whether it was Toto or other aspects of my career, where peaking is right where things got untenable, let's say. And you know, it was when I started attempting to do something about it. It wasn't until 10 years later that in 92 that you know, I was able to seriously make an attempt to change my life, you know, in that department. You know, I stayed at the party, so to speak, way too long, you know. I very early on, David and I had our own studio where we could work in, where I didn't have to, and a lot of people started coming to us. I mean, now that's commonplace, of course, but back in the day, not a lot of people had 224 tracks in their backyard studio, but we did. And so I got to kind of be in my cave way back then, and didn't have to be presentable for public consumption, so to speak. I don't know how else to put it, but yeah, let's just say I stayed at the party kind of way longer than I should have. And yeah, so around 92 or so is when things really finally kind of clicked for me, and I kind of cleaned up my act.
And that's about, well, I met you probably 93, 94-ish. And that's about when I had met you, and I knew that you were, you know, kind of seeking out, you know, faith and, you know, just things like that, new spiritual things. And you had met Pam probably back then too, right?
Yeah, around then, sure. Yeah. Soon after. It was soon after then.
Because when I was working over at the manor, the house was gone. The earthquake took the house down. So we were just going to the lot and going up the driveway, and then I was, you know, because the place was still stood because of how thick it was built and all that.
Right. The earthquake happened in 94. I remember.
94. Okay.
Northridge quake is what leveled the manor.
Right.
But the studio was still standing, as you know, and yeah, we were still in there all the time.
But that's why I kind of just mentioned the Haagen-Dazs. I only had heard the stories of, you know, camping out and, you know, just working, just in there, just doing stuff. And again, different times. And it was, you know, we're all young, we're all bulletproof, and we're all just having a good time, you know, all the time. And but then I met you, and things kind of progressed. And, you know, I don't see you a whole lot because by the time I met you, you had already left Toto. I was just kind of getting and dipping my toe in the water and stuff. And then I was fortunate enough to start doing some one-offs, you know, a couple of times a year, you know, working with them because JJ talked me into it. And then time kind of passed, and I had, you know, then I go and get married in the early 2000s. And life is, I'm not here if anybody calls. And then, and so I don't see you, but yet you know, I'm sending a Christmas card every year because a lot of people, you know, different circles. Like
you sure did. You sure
did.
They
were a little more risque back then. It was sex and drums and motorcycle. I mean, no, scantily clad women, motorcycles, and music. And then I had my daughter, and my focus changed. Everything changed. But
I noticed that.
I hadn't talked. Here's the thing: I hadn't talked to you, and as we're getting into these years, and then I'm married for a while, and then my life starts going apart. But everybody I know almost gets divorced. I had never been married. I got married at a later age, so I experienced in 2009 through 12 going through divorce. But I'm sending Christmas cards out, and then Pam is still on my Facebook, and then I noticed that you guys aren't together anymore, correct?
No.
Okay. I didn't know. I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know things from other people. Like, you know, I didn't know Luke got divorced because I'd send Mr. and Mrs. until I had him on the show. I mean, if you're not in the circle, you don't know. But life changes, and and I just try to tell people, it's like, no matter what big of a rock star you are or whatever, I mean, the daytime stuff is just as the same as anybody else, pretty much, you know. And so I had to rethink this, and I go, well, okay, I guess they're divorced, and change the address thing to Mr. or whatever, you know, because things were changing. But I just disappeared. So by 2009, I walked away because my life was going down. My parents were getting older, having, you know, health issues, things like that, and natural stuff. It's just the way it is. But now, once I rediscovered, I said, I want to do this. And then all of a sudden, because I went through so much hell, I decided to utilize my hell to bring to the forefront and talk about it. And I told you on the phone conversation, Luke was one of the very first people that I brought into the show. And he was cool enough to open up and really be open and honest about his personal life. And that was, you know, I was a lot more into every show being divorced and single parenting, because it tore me up. I can see how you can lose your shit from all the stress and anxiety of that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of people can drink themselves under the table and, you know, do a lot of self-harm when you got kids in the mix. And that's what I started this show. But now I kind of talk about everything having to do with life, because there's a lot of things in life that can make you crazy and people need to hear it. But you were married. You've been married how many times? Twice? Okay, just for the people. How many kids do you have?
3.
3.
One,
okay.
Yes, one from the first marriage. I have a 45-year-old daughter, Heather, that I had when I was 21 years old, I guess I was at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
And then now I have Dominic, who's 24, and Mickey, who's 19, with Pam.
With Pam. See, like, I didn't even know, because I didn't even know you had kids. I mean, because, you know what I mean? I haven't spoken to you in so long.
You wouldn't, and I, you know what I mean? Most people would see me, and I was working all the time.
Right.
I was working all the time.
Right. But through Pam likes to take pictures. You know, she's into photography, I guess. And I see your kids now, you know, and they're grown. And I'm going, okay, I got to ask you, because, you know, I missed all that stuff, and I was busy with my own thing. And, you know, that's the thing. Even when you're in the music circle, if you're with different people's camps, you just don't know what everybody's doing. You just assume they're off doing something. Mm-hmm. But I stepped away from the whole everything musical, because I had to take care of business. And then you come back into Toto to do the 40th trip around the sun, no?
Yeah, somewhere around there, around 2010. I'd been doing a few years of the TV show Justified. You know, I'd been in film world, and I had just gotten this great show that I'd been working on. And Luke asked me to do a summer when I was off from the show. He asked me to do one summer to benefit my brother Mike, who was suffering, who was dealing with some illness right then. And I agreed to do one summer, because I was done touring, you know. I was done touring, and he asked me to do one summer, and I thought, yeah, why not? You know, sounds like fun. And that turned into 9 years, you know.
That long?
Yeah. We started for Justified went for 6 years. So for another 4 years or so, I did double duty. Toto would have to wait for me to finish my Justified season, but you know, we had every summer was open, so I would tour all summer with Toto, and I'd have like 2 weeks in between gigs on both sides. And I mean, it was great as far as work went, you know, as far as working went. But anyway, so that happened. And then I kept on with Toto for another, you know, until 2019, when we finally took a break. And I told them that I needed a rest. And because of COVID, it wound up being kind of moot, you know.
Everything fell into place.
I'm just glad. Anyway.
I'm really glad you did the 40th anniversary. That was kind of cool to document, but that was the whole thing. I step away from all that. I couldn't be. You know, things changed. You came back in still, so I'm still not seeing you, and then here we are. And then COVID hits, and you know, and then I found my niche, and so I started this in 16 really, but talking about it since 2012. It took me 4 years to figure out how to do things that, you know, my thoughts were bigger than the budget. And
Gotcha.
so it was a big step backwards, talking. Finally, people are slapping me. They're going, man, you're talking about it, but you haven't done anything. So I still haven't seen you. But meanwhile, every year the Christmas cards are going. I know you're alive. I see you on Facebook a little bit, not very much.
Yeah.
And everything is cool. And then, you know, you came back. I want to tell you something about that Justified too, by the way. You did a great job on that. I didn't even know you were doing it, but I would watch the show back, and I don't know how long ago, and I happened to just see credits, and that's when I saw that you were on it, and I was going, whoa, good deal. You did a great job on that show.
Thank you. I had a lot of help from a friend. Mark Bonilla helped me quite a bit on that too.
Mark, I tried to audition for him years ago through his how's he do? He's still around too?
He sure is. Yeah.
Good. Back in the day, he started getting a good start up there, and
he did.
Yeah. Wow. You're mentioning names.
We're working on something right now as we speak.
You're mentioning people that I haven't heard their names in a long time, again, because I'm out of the loop, but you're still going. But anyway, good job. I just didn't know, you know, I knew you were doing TV and movies, and now you're, you know, you're selecting, you're on your time now. But I just happened to notice the other day that you're getting inducted into the California Hall of Fame. I didn't even know there was a California Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you know what? Me neither. They kind of jumped the gun there. I told them I would talk to them, and all of a sudden they made this announcement. Yeah, no, it's kind of weird because I have no idea. I've never heard of them before, and I need to find out more about this organization. Make sure it's not just some money grab for someone. You know what I mean? Are the Beach Boys in there before me? I know nothing about them. I heard Bobby Kimball, Kimball, and Bobby's had a rough go lately, and I thought, well, good for Bobby, whatever this thing is. But then they asked me if I would be part of it, and I said, well, we would need to talk about it. And next thing I know, everyone's congratulating me, and as of right now, I don't want to disparage or anybody, but I know nothing about it. I had never heard of it before, and before I'm agreeing to anything, I need to find out a lot more about it.
That makes sense. I just happened to see it too, flipping through some things. And now, you would think though that a Hall of Fame should be kind of like in Hollywood or California or something like that, because this is where it all comes from. But yet they got them in, you know, Oshkosh or whatever.
Sure. No, and this one's in Temecula.
Well,
which I think is where the people who do it maybe live.
Not?
I don't know anything about it. I'm anxious to find out, because I've had a lot of people respond and congratulate me, and it's kind of premature. They hadn't spoken to me yet about it.
Gotcha. Again, just flipping through things and going, okay, this is something new. We might as well see what's going on there. All right. Well, at least we got that cleared up. Let's go back a little more. So
sure.
I always, this is one I want to ask you this. In your LA, what year did you move to LA? You were young, right?
1966.
How old were you?
August of 66.
You were a kid, you're a child.
Yeah, I was just about, I turned 9 the next month.
Okay. So when you finally got out on your own, like you moved out of your parents' house.
10 years later.
10 years later. Okay. Did you ever own a futon?
Yeah, I owned a futon at some point. Sure.
Because I never knew what a futon was until I moved to LA. And then it became this. I just asked Tim Pierce that, and Terry Woolman told me this, had mentioned one. I'm asking every major musician now, because to me, it seems like every musician, actress, actor has probably owned a futon, because they became this convertible couch / bed that was inexpensive. And I just said, let me see if Steve Porcaro ever owned a futon.
Funny. Yes, I had a futon at one point.
Right, that's good. Did you? What did you enjoy your futon? I mean, or was it? What made you get a futon?
For the exact reason, it was this cheap way to have a couch that turned into a bed real easily.
I almost forgot. I didn't want to. If I had finished the show tonight and did not ask you that, I'd be kicking myself. I said we have to do part 2. I want. Yeah, I'm telling you. I had the fortune of meeting some relatives of yours back when I guess we were in Hartford, or no, we were at one of the casinos or something like that. I met, I know you're from there. I mean, I was born in East Haven, Connecticut, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, my shaping up was in Pensacola, Florida, but I was born there till I was 15. We moved to Florida when I was 15, and then I moved here at 29. But I met your Uncle Lou, right?
Uncle Vinny.
No.
Uncle Norm?
No, Uncle Norm. I'm sorry, Norm.
That's okay.
Uncle Norm with your aunt.
Mhm.
And your Uncle Norm was a trip and a half.
Oh, yeah.
He's quite the character. I mean, I think that your aunt and uncle even came to Puerto Rico. I think it was in Puerto Rico, like when we were all there too. And we were getting Uncle Norm, because everybody called him Uncle Norm. I don't know why I put down Uncle Lou here, but and we were getting them all fired up because we were trying to get him to. He said, "Why don't you come on the road with us? Why don't you come on?" And your aunt was looking at him, going, "He ain't going nowhere."
That's funny.
It was funny, but I mean, that was the thing, especially when we were in Connecticut and we were at the Mohican Sun or something like that.
What's that called in Nashatucket? Foxwoods.
Foxwoods I didn't do, but I did the
Oh,
Mohican
really?
Sun. Yeah, I did the Mohican Sun twice. And your family would come because they were, wasn't that far away. But I could have sworn that your Uncle Lou and have they since passed? Are they still around?
Aunt Liz is still with us, my dad's sister, but Uncle Norm's no longer with us.
Okay, but he was a hoot. I mean, he just wanted to hang around.
Oh, they were always huge supporters and very proud of us. And Toto, big Toto.
Every reason to be, but I mean, I just want to. It's funny because again, just family, and you guys were a huge family, and your father, ended up being one of the biggest studio musicians for movies and film and all that, and then all of you guys, it was just there's not a whole lot of that. I mean, the Wackermans, like Chad Wackerman and his brothers, were drummers and things like that, but you guys, tell me something, do you play drums too?
We all started on drums. We all started because that was what was laying around, and what was fun is there was always especially with Jeff, to me, this was 90% of how I saw my brother Jeff. Jeff's musical education was there was a drum set with headphones and a stereo right next to it, so you could always jump on and play along to a record, which was really fun,
That's how I did it. I didn't even have, back when I first started, it was one of those General Electric, let me go here. It was one of those General Electric stereo turntable that it flipped open and the speakers were on the side and the turntable was flat. And I was probably 10 years old, and that thing was right here by my head, and you'd put the record on and you just went to town.
We always had headphones, but we would be bashing.
That came later for me. I had to do it the old just blow your ears out way, and but I just had a feeling because it seemed like nobody, even Luke, I mean, I didn't know he could play drums. I mean, a lot of people think they can play drums, because they can bang on a tabletop, and then you sit in front of one and it's like, whoa, this is like really a lot different than, not that it's hard, but it's just different than what the brain imagines, because you need, your feet start needing leverage and all that. And I'm going, I bet you kind of piddled around too, because your dad was a drummer. I mean, your brother was a drummer, but yet I've never seen any of you, Mikey or you, I've never seen anybody play drums. I just knew you had to have that start.
Mike was actually a really good drummer. Mike had a feel and had this amazing time, Mike was really good.
I never saw him sit down. I just saw Luke one time sit down and play.
Rare.
Yeah, and never mentioned it either. And just never say things. Just like I didn't. Whoever can play piano too. I always knew everybody as the instrument they were playing. And
when Jeff Carroll's your brother, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. But I just figured he goes, I got this.
Had that covered,
I never had the opportunity to meet Jeff because from the time I moved here, that first year, I was less than zero when I moved to this town. Even though I hadn't met some people, and were coming in, but the whole world didn't just say, "Oh, great, Peter G's here. Let's just come on, we've been waiting for you." And I had never met Jeff, and but it's ironic how I still, by fluke through somebody else, Michael Jackson's camp, Mitch Marcoulier. He was a synclav tech back then.
Mm-hmm.
Knew JJ, and then I met JJ, and that drug me into that, and then got lucky enough to do a few things, and Paige. And it's funny because JJ used to call me and Paige Pete and Repeat, because we'd be at the Manor recording, and I'd say something technically or mix wise or this and that, and Dave would come in hours later, because Dave was always late, and he'd say the exact same thing. And it was always, we and he never really wanted to admit that, but you know what I mean? Because he hated the fact that, like, but we had a lot in common when and JJ just started calling us Pete and Repeat, because he'd come in and say the same thing. Because JJ had an old school drum. He wanted my snare drum like that thick, flat box sound, like hit it in the center. And I was at a point in my life where I loved hitting that rim and making it ring. And JJ hated that, and Dave liked that. But it's just, I missed that era. Had things been different, who knows how it would have been. But this is how the world, has been delivered to us, and we're all just here. And I was very thankful for my time being able to be around all those guys, because I learned a lot too. But again, you were there before me, and then you were there again after me, and I only spent time in your warehouse when you were sorting through stuff, and I was when you were getting all those polyphonics or whatever it was, blowing the dust off back in the Chuck Choi days. Is he still? You still know him?
I'm in touch with Chuck. Chuck has been very working with Hans Zimmer in Hans Zimmer's camp for quite a while now, doing really, really well. He went from me to working with Mark Mancina, a very successful film composer, and from there he's been working in Hans's team for quite a while now.
Wow. Because everybody, all I knew is like guys like you, because you were like a solo, you were doing your own thing, and everybody had a guy. David had JJ. You had Chuck back in the day, and
JJ was, I hired JJ.
Did you really?
Originally,
he was a trip, and I tried to get a hold of him. He's in Australia somewhere, and
is he really? I have no idea where he is. He's one of the few guys that I haven't stayed in touch with. He kind of disappeared on us.
He did disappear, because I try every year. I sent him a happy birthday, but he chimed in. Because I was so thankful. I got in with Geir Ronnen, that Norwegian singer, and we became really close friends. I mean, he liked me, and we played. But JJ kind of just moved away, and he's not a social media person. Every year I wish him a happy birthday, and about 2 years ago he popped on to Facebook or something and said one line or something, and that was it. And he's gone again. Yeah. So. But he's alive. I just want them to make sure he's alive, because sometimes you wonder.
Yeah.
But that's how it all went. All right. So, lost track of you. You've gotten divorced. How is life now for Steve Porcaro? I mean, what are you working on?
It's the best it's ever been. To be honest with you, it's the best it's ever been. I in 2019, I had decided I really needed a break from touring. We'd been once the TV show stopped, Luke just started booking Toto constantly, and it was great. They took amazing care of me. They paid me incredibly well. There started to be some drama between my sisters-in-law, my brothers Mike and Jeff's estates, and Toto Inc. There started to be some drama, which really had nothing to do with me personally until
you're caught in the middle.
Sorry?
You're just caught in the middle.
Yes, I was caught in the middle, to put it mildly, and we'll leave it at that. But I had decided in 2019, when we finally were taking a break, that I really needed a break. And then not only did I need a break, and they were kind of upset with me, because things had been going very well. The band was definitely on an uptick. Africa, for some reason, was being played all over the world right then. I just decided I really wanted to be home. My dad was getting old. My kids were struggling a little bit with some personal issues, and I just wanted to be around. And I let them know that, and I assumed I would have to get some other day job, so to speak. I've always had to work. I've never been able to not work. So So I figured I'd have to get back into some kind of film work or something like that if I wanted to stay home. And it turns out I didn't. And I'm able to do exactly what I want to do. And I'm working as hard as I ever have. I love waking up real early still. And, my biggest challenge now is just dealing with the fact that I don't have any hard, fast deadlines. I have to impose them on myself if I ever want to finish anything I do. But I'm going to do another solo album. I've got like 20 different collaborations going with different artists and some young people that do have record deals that do go on the road. And so it's not just me sitting in my home studio puttering away, finishing my demos. I feel like I've got a lot more to say and a lot more to do. And in some ways, not that anyone cares at my age, at 65 years old, but in some ways, I feel like I'm just getting started. The fact that I'm able to do whatever the hell I want to do, and I'm doing it, and I'm having a ball doing it. And the technology is kind of at this point where it's working real well. And my nose isn't in the manual nearly as much as it used to be. And now with with YouTube videos and all this stuff, I'm kind of jumping into it all, and I'm just I feel really blessed, and I'm been happier than I've ever been.
YouTube videos, those are a blessing. Everything, anything you want. I mean, can you imagine growing up as a child learning? Did you see some of these these 8 and 10-year-old musician kids growing up now that, smoking their instruments?
Yep.
We had to, I had to keep picking up the needle and restarting it, and
Sure did. We sure did.
So you're doing tons of great stuff. I mean, that's look, here at the end of the day, so long as you're happy, you're at a point where you got nothing to prove. There's nothing to prove. You've done it all and then some, twice, 3 times, 4.
Yeah, but I have some goals for myself. I still have some stuff to that I want to show everyone else. You know what I mean? That
if the spark is still there, then by all means, because to me, if you stop moving, you slow down. And I like pressure. To me, there's nothing better that keeps me on my toes is when I got a fire lit under my ass a little bit to because I have an opportunity to do something that I want to do. And everybody I've been talking to is doing things on their time now. It's kind of great.
Sure. No, but most of my success was in the early 80s, and I most of the things people know about were really stem from the early 80s, and I just have so much more stuff I want to show everybody as far as why I got into all this stuff in the first place.
Your name is still synonymous. Regardless of whether you think so or not. You mention your name and people know who the hell you are. They may not see you on stage or something as much, but you're still pretty relevant as far as I know. Because I talked to you and they go, Steve Porcaro's gonna be on your show. It's like, awesome. I go, yeah, I know. I go, I haven't talked to him either, but I know he's around and we're gonna do this. But again, life's full of choices, and you're just doing what you want to do. So it's bless you. You're blessed. Tell me something about this. Tell me that you're lucky enough that you and your ex still talk.
Yeah, we do. It was very challenging, and we still have challenges. If you're talking about Pam, there's still challenges, but overall, at the end of the day, we just care about our kids.
There you go.
And especially me, my kids have been through enough. I've been able to see the ways that that it wasn't, some of the stuff that I started to jump around here. I'm sorry, I'm not being more eloquent here, but my ex would maybe like some of us, I've been accused of narcissism several times, and I won't even get into how accurate that was or wasn't, that accusation, but sometimes I'll be talking about how I feel I should have done better, or what I should have maybe done instead. And when she would tell me recently that, hey, Steve, it's not all about you, I would kind of get into this defensive thing about thinking she was going there accusing me of being a narcissist again or something like that, where with some other support I've searched out and help me my kids navigate their young adulthood, I'm hearing the same thing, where it's not all about me. It's not all about what I and that's not an accusation of narcissism as much as it's not all about what I did or didn't do as a father. Some kids are just, are on their own path, regardless of what I do or don't do as a father. And, but I can't help but think about, things that, while I was dealing with my relationship with their mom and however I dealt with that ways that stuff affected them, just even going from household to household, how, regardless of what the divorce agreement was, my kids always insisted that they spend 50% of the time with mom and 50% of the time with dad, which was fine with both of us. Right. But just things like I realized, whenever my kids would come see me, I was so happy to see them, and I would embrace them, and it was always a good time, and let's order a pizza, and you want to have friends over, and everything's great. And by day 5, I'd be calling their mom going, you got to take these kids, they're driving me absolutely nuts. You know what I mean? And their mom would be so glad to see them, and let's order a pizza, and do you want to have friends over? And it was a party. And then by day 5, I would get the phone call. You've got to take these kids, they're fucking driving me nuts. You know what I mean? And instead of us, and I realized though that after years of that, how bad that was for the kids to be tossed back and forth, where if we were together, whatever it was that was driving us nuts, we might have dealt with in a healthier way than the kids just then reset, just keep being set, and their behavior being okay. You know what I mean? That Groundhog Day thing, things like that. I'm just giving you one example.
I get it, but hindsight's 20/20. I mean, now that you look back at it, yes, you can see it, but sometimes when you're in the moment, you just can't, because you're kind of making it up as you go along.
You're trying to survive. You're just trying to get through the day. You're trying to get through the day or the week or the whatever.
I hate what divorce does to some kids. I've met some people that their kids are really messed up because of the he said, she said, and things like that. And then a lot of times, like, you'll spend a fortune on them trying to do things when they just want you, and your time. And it's hard because you're trying to make a living. Yeah. And, I stopped everything. I mean, I gave up. I made bad business decisions based on my emotions, but I don't have any regrets over it. I just, but when I kind of talk to my creditors, I'm not, I don't. It's a little different, but
when they see now when we're all together, when their mom's together, when we're together, they kind of see how their mom and me are kind of oil and water, and that, you know what I mean? As they're turning into adults, they totally see how were you guys ever together?
I hear that a lot. I get that a lot. But
there's a lot of forgiveness there. It isn't like they see how we're just basically oil and water, which is what the situation just kind of wound up being, where nobody's really a bad guy. There was nothing. There were no huge, horrible things done to each other. It just was. We just really, at the end of the day, we're just such different people.
It makes it, I mean, to me, at one point you would die for each other, and then you end up at the end wanting to kill each other at some point, mentally. But I just think that for the sake of the kids, if you're able to talk, to at least converse, and like be able to, my ex still does not talk to me. I mean, but thank God my daughter has seen through it. She's, and she's handled it. But she just won't. It's like, what is the big deal anymore? I mean, it's done and over with years ago. I have not texted or even used the phone to even because my daughter handles everything. She's 17 now, but I just think it's really, like, Luke surprised the shit out of me when he says, no, he says, Sean and me, we're best of friends, but we're just not married anymore. And I go, well, that's good for the kids, I mean, because the kids is really what it's all about. But just had to ask because I'm always curious. I envy the people that have the decent relationship, and I know it takes time. Look, time heals a lot of stuff for most, not everybody, but so now, how old are your last two now?
Mickey's 19 and Dominic's 24.
So they pretty much have lives of their own. They're getting there to where they're busy, must be busy. And this, how much do they voluntarily now come around and go, hey, I want to come over? Or do you have to hey, what are you doing?
No, they do. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
See, this is the thing. Again, I was so disconnected. I had to keep my sanity because I knew when we were going for divorce, things were going to go down in flames. It wasn't going to be an easy one. And so I just lost track of everybody, but I managed to get those yearly cards out just because I don't know.
And I have to admit, I look forward to them. I was always glad to receive them, Peter.
Dude, I'm just wired that way. I mean, even yesterday morning, Mother's Day, I'm on my phone for 2 hours texting people in my, happy Mother's Day. Just people. Women I know, girls I've grown up with, just because it's not that hard. It's a little bit of time, but I just want to say, hey, happy Mother's Day. It's a big, to me, every day should be a Mother's Day, or Father's Day or whatever. But
sure,
that moment. But again, special moments. I really hope that between the whole Toto thing and all that time also, you guys have too much years of the deep history and everything like that. I hope everything smooths over in time and just water under the bridge.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that everything, again, personal life. I had to mix it up with this show tonight because, again, I wanted people to know about your past, like the beginning days, and we started talking about that kind of stuff, but I did want to kind of mix it up and just bring real life into professional life because it's not always easy to mix them both together. And but you managed to survive it. So I want to thank you for taking the time. And really, again, I put that little sticky note on your Christmas card, and you responded to me. And because I lost track. Again, I had your address, and the reason you're on the list is because you haven't changed addresses, and it didn't come back to me return to sender one of these days. You know what I mean?
Nope. I'm right where you left me.
Right. Well, that's a good thing. I'm a creature of habit. I like stability, and just you can find me from 30 years ago. I still keep the same phone numbers, same emails, all that kind of stuff, because I'm not running from anybody, although I'd like to sometimes. But again, I thank you for opening up and just sharing some of you, and we talked about the history of everything. I don't do musical shows. I just like talking about life, but I felt that every piece of this was all part of your life, and it's a big deal. Man, you had it. 17 years old, on top of the world. I'm still, I'm so friggin' jealous. I mean, because those days were just flying free, bulletproof, and you were there. Wow. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go because we're running out of time, and I know you got stuff to do. But I deeply appreciate this. Last look at longtime old friend. Haven't seen you. Oh, by the way, I'm still mean that on lunch when you're. We talked about that.
Absolutely.
I'm holding you to it. It's on me for a long
Please,
time.
I'm around. Okay. I ain't going anywhere.
Well, I know, but we hang up the phones and all this, and life just starts pulling in different directions. It's real hard. It's real. I mean, for me and for you, and just I do. No, it's no bad intentions. Just before I know it, it's 10 o'clock at night every night. You know what I mean? Yeah. So and I'm up till 3 a.m. I just can't. I've gotten into this bad habit that I'm up late, and so I'm sleeping till 8 or 10 in the morning. And
I feel like I put my Christmas tree away 2 weeks ago. Okay, so
that too. Time is flying, but we're all here, and I count my blessings every single freaking day. So again, you're here, I'm here, we're all here. Let's do this. Last look, ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Steve Porcaro. Any words of wisdom before we go? I never asked you that. Anything you want to leave anybody with?
Sure.
I know.
Lots.
Cool.
Just right. Don't sweat the small stuff. Do I don't know. Everything kind of sounds trite at this point, but just live your life and do your best. and love the people you love and let them know it.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Because one day you wake up, or if you're lucky, I thank God every day just for waking up, and then after that it's a crapshoot. But you know, I get to mess shit up all over again. All right, wiser words could not be spoken. Absolutely true. All right, brother, I love you, and thank you for giving us the time and doing this, because you didn't have to. There's lots of choices in life, but I appreciate it. I do, because I learned. All right, brother. Last time, Steve Porcaro, wave goodbye to everybody, and I'm going to end this. And we're overtime. There he is. Last chance. Okay, thank you.
All right. See you later.
Yep. There we go. Hang on 1 minute. Smooth. Wow. See, this is what happens. I had so much stuff in my head that I wanted to start the show and talk to him about. And then that leads me into off-the-cuff things, more things that from where I wanted to leave and move on to other things, but it leads me into other things that I want to talk to him about, which then leads finally getting into the other stuff I want to talk to him about, which ends up talking about more stuff of the stuff that I want to talk about. And then we run way over time, but it was damn good stuff. I finally got to get into the balance of life. Because life is a balance, and God knows, we all have our ups and downs and juggle and make mistakes, hopefully to learn from them. And I think that there's a lesson in every single person that comes on this show and tells pieces of their lives and stories. So I hope you enjoyed the legendary Steve Porcaro right here on Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show. I want to remind everybody, don't forget to go over to YouTube and please hit the subscribe button. I just need to get those numbers up, because starting from 0 was no fun again. And it's a long, hard trail. There's nothing up there. They are punishing me. They're making it hard. So please do your part. I love all of you who are on the Facebooks. We got a huge followings on there, because that's where we started. And the LinkedIns and Twitters and Instagrams and all that kind of stuff. But please hit the subscribe. It's free. And for those of you who love watching the show but sometimes have to go, you're on the go, put an earbud in your ear and take the Peter G Show on the road with you with the Peter G Show podcast audio. Just Google Peter G Show podcast. It's up. You can pick all the 25 different platforms: Instagram, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the above. Just take the show on the road with you. It's that simple. And again, with almost 300 shows under our belts and counting, there's something out there for everybody. It's funny because I get all the different people. I get the music fanatics that are writing me and telling me, man, I loved your show on so-and-so. And then you get other people who are into relationship issues with, all kinds of things. And they go, man, it depends what buttons that push your soul. But I'm right here to help share the stories in hopes that it'll just let you know that, hey, you're not alone. And I love what we're doing. So, let's keep on doing it. Anything else? I think that's it. I want to thank everybody for watching the show. We'll see you each and every Wednesday right here on Life with Peter G, the Peter G Show, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. on the East Coast, or on demand. You can watch any show you want, pick and choose whenever you're able to. I just love the fact that you watch. Before we leave, I want to leave you with a little bit of inspiration from comedian Rodney Normand. And then because he always has a certain way of putting things that really makes you go, But for right now, my name is Peter G. As always, I love you guys, and peace out.
Hello, and welcome to today. I take this opportunity to say that if you're seeing this video, it means that you're still alive, and so you can still do stuff. So you should just take a minute and go, okay. There's a lot of craziness going on in my life, but I can deal with it, 'cause I'm still here. I got nothing else to do except deal with stuff, so I'm just gonna deal with it. Okay, so have a super awesome day. Bye.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorce dad, single dad, divorce dad, single dad, Peter G Show.